And then Saul gets jealous because everyone's making songs now. You know, oh, Saul killed thousands, David killed tens of thousands, and he's all like, what? I used to be the one, now this guy, and he's getting all jealous, and so now he's gonna kill him, right? And so now David's on the run, living in caves and stuff, and like... Recording! What is up? January 26th? Let's confirm. Yes, January 26th, 2023. What is up? Alright, so I'm excited about this thought. I've been having it for a couple of months, I think. Like, the seedling of the thought began a few months ago, and then it has come to full fruition just like a week ago. Anyways. And you'll appreciate those parallels later. Okay, so what's this thought about? So I think like the main theme here, just to give you a rundown, is patience. Yes, the value of patience. Yes, I know, it's hard. But yeah, value of patience. And I guess, I'm not sure the word I'm looking for. I mean, the word reward's coming to mind. Reward for seeing something through, or maintaining something rather than just kind of giving up or tossing it away. Okay, so what am I talking about? Where'd this thought come from? Well, I have this plant, and I love plants, and I have a beautiful friend who I wasn't home, but she had come by and dropped off like some tea and a card and a cute little orchid, and it was so sweet, and it meant so much to me, just like a little gift of encouragement. And I was really excited about the orchid because I was like, ooh, I've seen them at the store and I've given a few as gifts, but I don't think I had ever actually owned an orchid before. So I was pretty excited. It was like a cute little mini one, so I was like, yay, and took care of it and all that. And it bloomed and it was beautiful, cute little white flowers, kept it by the window, it seemed happy. But such as it is with life, it began to wither. And the flowers, curled up and fell off the stems and just kind of looked barren and lifeless. And, sometimes it takes me a while to get to things. And so it just kind of sat there for like, I don't know. It probably was like nice for a month, and then it kind of died, and then, I don't know, it was like maybe early December or something, that I finally was cleaning things up, and I was like, okay, I should probably just throw this plant away. Like, you ever get like really impulsive and all of a sudden you're just like, I'm getting rid of everything and throwing everything out? Do you ever do that? Sometimes I do that. So it was one of those moments. And I remember picking up the plant, looking at it, feeling kind of sad, and being like, all right, yep, it's time. Time to throw this guy out, he's pretty dead. And I was holding it and about to walk over to the trash can. Or I think I was debating, like, oh, I'll go, like, throw it out in the dirt outside and it can become one with the earth again. And just, I couldn't bring myself to do it, I was just like, the leaves at the base were still a little green. So I was like, well, I don't know, maybe. So I kept it. And it just kind of sat there looking dead for a while. And occasionally I'd water it, because I'd water the other plants and I'd be like, oh, I guess I'll give this guy a little water, a little drink. And that was that. And I was kind of hoping maybe it wasn't dead, right? And then, like, I don't know, maybe a month later, which would be now, I guess. Like, beginning of this month, I'd say, I started to notice these little, Bulbasaurs, little Bulbasaurs, what's it called, like little buds coming up on the stems, and I was like, what? I got really excited, like, oh my goodness. And I remember in that moment just kind of feeling like, kind of like praying. I'm always like talking out loud, praying to God when I'm alone, pretty much, and sometimes when I'm not. I probably look crazy in the stores, but I was just kind of hopeful, I was like, oh, what? And I was like, wow, and that's the thought was like starting to stir a little more, and we'll get into it. But then I was just like, oh my goodness, okay, we'll see. And I was like, I don't know. I've never had an orchid before, like I said. I was like, I don't know if this is gonna be something or not, or what's going on, but something's happening, right? Something's happening. So I continued to water it periodically, and then, like, I'd say, it was like a week ago today, probably. And I'm like, looking, it's right by my sink, so I'm doing some dishes, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, it bloomed! The flower had opened up, and it was so cute and pretty, and I was so excited, and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is so cool, and there was another big Bulbasaur. I know it's not what it's called, but I like it. That also looked like it was going to open soon. And so I was really excited. And then like, I don't know, a day or two, I think it was the next day, the other one opened up and it was even like bigger. It opened up even more. It was so pretty. And just like these beautiful little white flowers. And there's still more buds, and I think they're like, look like they're doing the same process, gonna be getting a little bigger here. So I'm very excited to see how many of them bloom. But I was just so excited, and it was just so cool. And it really had me thinking, because I was just like, man, I was gonna throw this plant away. Like I had it there in my hand, ready to just throw it away. Not even realizing the potential still remaining, not even realizing the life within this plant, and just the joy in getting to see that. And it had me thinking about so many things, but I think the two things, like I said, the patience, the value of patience, right? Like here's this reward for not giving up on this plant, right? But saying, okay, I'm gonna keep watering it, even though it looks dead. I'm gonna keep watering it, and who knows? And so to see the fruit of that, with the flowers coming forth, that was just really rewarding, and just makes me feel like, oh man, that was totally worth it to keep it. But yeah, man, how often do we do that? We're just like, I'm just gonna throw this away, and not even realizing, hey, no, you don't have to do that, actually. And it just got me thinking about, like, one, it encouraged me with things I'm going through, and I just kind of felt like the Lord using that to remind me to keep trusting in Him, just giving me hope, and just, there's some things when we're waiting that it can be hard to see if anything's happening, right? It can be hard to see if change is coming, and it's hard to see like if God is working, right? We're just like, I don't know the next step to take. We're just like kind of wondering like, okay, what should I do? And sometimes we just kind of have to wait on Him, and it's hard to see like, are you hearing my prayers? Are you doing anything? Am I going crazy? And just sometimes there's things that we feel like God has guided us in, and that He's been working in, and yet at the same time it's like we're still waiting to really see that final result. Like He called us in one direction, and then we're trying to be like, okay, wait, what's happening here? Because I thought we were going in this way, but now we're like having to take all these other side routes to get there, kind of thing. And it can be confusing, right? And it could be so easy to just give up or just throw in the towel, right? Or just be like the plant, like, okay, this is dead. This is like a dead end. I'm just gonna throw this away. And we never see the reward of persevering through something, trusting Him and waiting on Him. We try to take matters into our own hands. Like, oh, this orchid died, I'm just going to go get another orchid. Instead of, oh, let me just keep it here and water it and wait a few months and see what happens. And it had me thinking about that verse too in, where is it? Is it in like John? I think it's in one of the Gospels. But he's talking about like the farmer with the tree. They're like, oh, this tree's bad, we're going to cut it down. And he's like, no, give it one more year and we'll till the soil and take care of it, and if it still doesn't yield fruit next year, then we can take it down. This idea of some things take time. Some answers to prayer, they take time, lots of time. They are going to take routes and direction, that we don't expect, or they're going to just take longer, and we're going to be faced with opposition and obstacles and doubt and wondering, oh, I'm not seeing anything here. Like, did God really say that? Or did I just, make that up? And those are good questions, because sometimes I think we can easily be swayed, right, by our own desires and passions. And if they're not in alignment with the Lord, then, yeah, that's not like He didn't probably say that. And that's why it's so important to be in His Word. But, yeah, there's something to be said about that with waiting and being patient. And I also was thinking about Abraham and David, right? Because when I think of waiting, those two come up a lot, and Sarah. And so, let's take it with them. God promised Abraham He's going to make a great nation, right, of Abraham's descendants, and He's going to have a son. And, Sarah's been barren, and Abraham's like, okay. And so they're just waiting for that to happen, and years go by, right? And then she still hasn't had a son, and then they're really old. So now God's like, okay, next year it's gonna happen. And she laughs, right? Because she's like, okay, yeah, that's gonna happen. I've been barren all my life, and now I'm in my old age, you think I'm gonna have a child? But then the promise is fulfilled, she does. But I just think about that time, from the first time they were told, and thinking about that journey. And we see too how they kind of they do try to take control of the situation. They're not seeing that happen, and she's like, oh, maybe it's because you have to have a child through my servant Hagar, right? And is that right? I'm like, Hagrid, Harry Potter. Hagar. Forgive me. It's forgetting the names. But anyways, yeah, and so like then there's that, and then that causes all this drama, right? Of course. Like and that's like, he's like, no, that's not the son. I told you you're gonna have, and then there's Ishmael. But eventually, yeah, they get there, and there's Isaac, and which like means she laughs, right? Which is kind of fun. So I imagine what that would have been like, though, facing that. We can read that in a few little pages of history, but think of them living that out and having to be like, okay, God said this, and like living by that faith and just kind of wondering. And I'm sure clearly we see it in Sarah, like the way she doubted and was like, oh, trying to make sense of why hasn't this happened yet, and like, oh, we gotta do something, and Abraham goes along with it, like, okay, so they both kind of have that moment, and yet God is still faithful, and he's like, I am doing this, but it's just, you gotta wait a little longer. He knows the timing. There's a reason behind why and when he does things. And then think of David, anointed, in his youth to be king of Israel, and then fights along Saul and is like loyal to Saul. And then Saul gets jealous because everyone's making songs now, oh, Saul killed thousands, David killed tens of thousands, and he's all like, what? I used to be the one, now this guy, and he's getting all jealous, and so now he's gonna kill him, right? And so now David's on the run, living in caves and stuff.
Hiding in cave after cave after cave after cave.
And like going from town to town, and yeah, for like what, 10, 13 years? I always forget. It's somewhere around 10 to 13 years, I'm pretty sure though. And it's like all this time that he's having to be on the run, waiting on God, this promise to be the king of Israel. And just imagine what he went through. Not only has he faced rejection, a betrayal from someone he admired, right, and was loyal to, but like he's having to live out in the caves and look over his shoulder every night and be on guard because they're out to kill him, they're searching the countryside, the wilderness, with their army looking for David to kill him, right? And then what does he even do? We see like this moment when Saul is like given into the hand of David, right? He comes to relieve himself in the cave that David just happens to be in, and they're all like, oh man, you could like, you kill him. You could get him now. Well, he's in here, he has no idea, his guard is down. And David doesn't. He's like, no, that's God's anointed, because Saul was anointed also. But then, he just let his passions get the best of him. So it's just like crazy, that he had that attitude. He was just trusting in the Lord. He knew God would be faithful. And we see him wrestling, he's like, how long, Lord? And that's why I feel like so much of the Psalms is so relatable to us now, because he went through it. And yeah, so it just had me thinking about them, and then thinking about that space in between the promise and the promise fulfilled. And that space in between is where our faith grows, because it's not when it happens, when it happens, it's like, oh, yay. It's like a confirmation of your faith more so, because you're like, oh, yes, it did happen. But that time in between, that's where the stretching happens. That's where we really find out how much we trust the Lord, how much we believe him at his word, believe his character. That's when we're faced with a lot of obstacles and opportunities, right, to either stay true and steadfast, trusting in him and his timing, or throw it away. That's when we have the chance to either keep watering the plant and believing in faith that one day it's going to bloom, or it's where we decide to just take it and throw it out and go buy a new one and take it into our own hands, right? And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I just think that that's really interesting, and it had me thinking, and it encouraged me in my own life, in the areas where I've been praying, many different areas, praying for things over the years, and just encouraged me like, okay, yes, trust him. Some things take time to see grow. Some things we can't see. It seems like nothing's happening. It seems like it's just dead and time to give up. But then to push through that, even though we can't see it, to remember who God is and to just pour everything out to him, to bring everything to him and trust him and just be like, Lord, this is hard. And Lord, I'm struggling. I have been praying for this. Whoa, okay, bro. Okay, like, Lord, I have been praying for this and trusting you in this, and I believe that you led me here, so help me, you know? It's like that guy who's like, I believe, help me in my unbelief. Because sometimes it's hard, and we start to doubt. And a big thing I went through the last few years was like, I went through a period of wrestling with trusting God, but then I'm like, he is so trustworthy though. He's proven himself that. And so then what really happened was I was like, I don't trust myself to trust that I'm hearing him correctly. And it was really damaging to me in a lot of ways. I feel like it stunted me in so many things. And it's something so clearly that the devil wanted to use against me and keep me there. Like, yeah, you can't trust that. But I'm feeling that lifting after praying for it. And in that time with that was something I brought to God. I was just like, Lord, I am having a hard time trusting myself to trust you. It's so, you just got to come to him honestly with everything that's on your heart and your mind. And, he already knows. He already sees that, right? Like, before a word is even on my lips, you know it all together. You see my thoughts from afar. He knows us so intimately. And maybe that's terrifying, right? Because there's some things that we're like, oh no. But I think it's comforting because it's like, no, he does. He sees all that, and he's still telling me to draw near. He sees all of it, the good and the bad, and he still died on the cross for me. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. That's why it goes beyond that initial placing our faith in him as our Savior, but then day to day placing our faith in like, no, you see me, and I can include you in everything. I can bring my whole heart to you. I can bring all my thoughts and worries and all my doubts and all my rage, just everything, the whole package. He's ready for it, he knew what he was getting into. And so it's beautiful because we can lay that before him and trust him in that. And I think in that releasing it to him, there is this transformation that can start to happen because it just helps you work through what's really going on here and just helps to remind us of him. And we find him in those places to be comforting to us. He's there. His presence overcomes you in those times. Some of my closest moments with God have been my deepest moments of sorrow. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted, and it's so true. He is, and you can just feel his presence with you. And yeah, just that beauty of how our faith is grown in that space, between a promise and a promise fulfilled. But yeah, I was super stoked on the orchids. I thought that was so cool and so encouraging, and just, yeah, fixing my eyes back on the Lord and trusting him and trusting that, like, he knows my heart. He sees my burdens. He knows the things I long for. He's heard my prayers, and he is sovereign over it all, and he's in control. And no matter what takes shape here and now, I can hold to the eternal hope and the eternal promise of life with him beyond this and that redemption. So cool. And that's where your faith grows, right? In the promise made to the promise fulfilled. And so this life just constantly growing in our faith. Like, what is faith? The conviction of what is not seen. Just like going to Hebrews 11 in that. And just, that's where we're stretched. That's where we really have to ask ourselves, okay, what do I believe about God, about myself and this world? And really looking at that and looking at his word and allowing ourselves to be refined in that and to grow. So I guess what I'm saying is allow yourself that hope, and then look at it and give it to God, and then hold to the hope of the promise of eternal life when we put our faith in Him. It's nothing we earn or we do. It's not a works-based thing, but it is by grace and grace alone. The work is finished, right? Like, come on, that's sick. So, like, we can hold to Him, right? And then He's doing a work in us as we live out this life, which stirs in us a heart and a desire to pursue Him and the things of Him, and to love on other people in this world. And yeah, it might seem like you've been waiting forever for something in your life. Maybe you're just waiting to just feel joy again. It could be anything, and it might feel like nothing's changing, but I just hope this can encourage all of us that something might look dead and seem hopeless, but God can bring life to any situation. And it might not always look how we might hope or expect, but we can trust Him to bring good out of it and to grow us in the process, and to grow in our relationship with Him, which ultimately is like the greatest satisfaction in the world. Like, nothing can fulfill that. So I think that's it for now. So just the growth will come. The flowers will bloom, you know? Just got to hold to that and trust in Him. So that's all for now. End scene. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe for more videos, and leave a comment below of any creating or rambling ideas you'd like to hear in the future. This has been KO, here with you to create eternal perspective.